Let's go ahead and get to McIntyre and Nico, and it's 4 downs brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. That's Dynasty Pools and Spas right there in Athens.
4 Downs brought to you by Dynasty Spas, the most comfortable spas made in the United States of America, right here in East Tennessee. Drop in for the all-new showroom in Athens. Dynasty Spas, perfect for all 4 seasons. 4 Downs, presented by Off the Hook Sports.
All right, check them out. Mention offthehooksports.com and get $500 off. So we get to 4 downs. And Coop, what do we do to get this thing rolling?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Boom.
Coop here. First down.
Here's why it's bigger than Nico Iamaleava, the George MacIntyre commitment. There's no huge NIL deal that has painted Tennessee into a corner with other players that they have to pay just to stay and continue to do their job. I think that deal originally was I think it was overhyped, and whether that's Spire Sports or UT, I don't know, but you never want to give up your position in terms of the funds you're paying out when you've got more employees that have their hands out as well. So no huge NIL. Is that a significant reason why McIntyre is comparable to Nico?
I mean, it is, but I wanted to debate you on this because I don't think McIntyre is bigger than Nico. I disagree with you.
Okay.
Totally on this.
Then I'll give you mine. And then you can tell me. So
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
All right. I think he's an in-state guy. I think that helps you recruit in-state, and it's embarrassing to lose one of those guys, as Tennessee will lose one of the top quarterbacks in the 2026 class who is slated to commit to Georgia. I think that's a bad look. All right, Coop.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
All right. They're similarly rated. They're both 5-star guys. Nico's more elite, but we are talking about guys that are at least comparable. And lastly,
all SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
George MacIntyre has said he wants to recruit. He's dying to recruit. He's already reaching out to people. I think Nico did some of that just by social media and the impact that he had, but I don't think he was one of those dogged recruiters, more like a Casey Clausen, let's say, than a Peyton Manning that's going to call kids, other young men, and say, hey, you need to come play for me. I don't think Nico did that a lot. I thought he had an impact. So there you go. Tear me up. It's brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. 4 downs. Imagine having the best spas made right here in the U.S. in your backyard. They are here in Athens. That showroom's awesome. They deliver for you. They've got the complete cover, spa cover, chemicals, support to keep your spa bubbling at its best. Dynasty Pools and Spas. Order the chemicals there for your pool or spa because there's no fillers. Dynasty Pools and Spas. Why am I an ignoramus? Caleb, do you disagree with all 4 of those, 1 or 2 of those, or all of them?
I think all 4 points you make are good. I actually do. I think all of them could actually make George MacIntyre more valuable than Nico. I don't think it matters because I think George MacIntyre is pointless if Tennessee doesn't win this year. And they're going to win this year with Nico because if they don't win this year at a very high level, I'd fire Josh Heupel. If they don't win 12 games, I'd fire Josh Heupel. I'm telling you the guys that right now. So I think it's pointless to think about George MacIntyre because if Nico doesn't deliver for Tennessee, Josh Heupel won't be around to coach George MacIntyre. And if he's not around to coach George MacIntyre, there's a chance George MacIntyre goes somewhere else or he's stuck with a very terrible coach because the history shows that Tennessee will make a terrible hire. They lucked into Josh Heupel. They don't have that good of a track record of hiring coaches if you look at the last 15 years.
So to you, this is a transitional piece, and McIntyre is a cog in the recruiting machine. Is that fair?
Yeah, but everything comes down to what Nico can do. Everything comes down to what Nico can do. Look, if Joe Milton had stayed, this is going to be funny to say. If Joe Milton didn't get hurt against Pittsburgh 3 years ago, and Hendon Hooker didn't come in and take the world by storm, Tennessee does not go to a bowl game in 2021. They are not as good as they are in 2022, and I guarantee you Josh Heupel doesn't land Nico. I don't care what the NIL money is out there says. Because Hendon Hooker balling for Josh Heupel had a huge help in that. Hendon Hooker at that point was more important than Nico. Right now, Nico is more important than than George MacIntyre. You won't be able to have the success you need to have with George MacIntyre unless Nico takes Tennessee to transcendent heights. And that has to happen.
Okay. I don't think as much relies, and here's where you and I differ, on just 2024. I think the program is going in the right direction. So what happens if Tennessee gets off kilter? I know you, Caleb, if something happened with an injury or an injury bug, you would discount that. But something else could happen in terms of team chemistry that could make 2024 a season of great opportunity into a season of great disappointment. But that doesn't mean I'm down on 25 or 26. So while I think Tennessee will have great success and is loading up for 2024, I agree with you on that. But I don't think the results have to be there immediately for Josh Heupel to still be one of the preeminent young coaches in the nation. I think he'd be fine if Tennessee went 9-3 for some reason off fluky plays, which I don't believe will happen. I think Tennessee wins 10 regular season games. I would go into 2025 with Nico having another year under his belt, incredibly optimistic about that season. Don't think we're going to have that discussion, Caleb, but if we did, that would be my take.
Tennessee better have a top 4 finish one of the next 2 years, and I think both of the next 2 years. I think both of the next 2 years.
One and next two. I'm rolling with you. I will say have to have top 4 finish, one and next two. I'm not going to roll with you on both.
I say they should do both. They'd better have one. And if they don't have one, because here's how this works, Dave. You know this. Every new coach recruits really well his first few years, right? How many times have you seen a new coach hired and he's beloved because, oh, look at these classics he brought in. He's building the program. Then he has 1 year where he didn't meet expectations. And what happens? The snowball starts, right? The snowball starts, decommits start, negative recruiting starts. If Josh Heupel has another 9-3 year, every recruit in the country is going to see in their mind that he went 9-3 had another 9-win season. And in their mind, they're going to think, well, that 2022 year was a fluke. 9 wins is a ceiling for Josh Heupel. That's what's going to happen. And the minute they see 9 wins as a ceiling for Josh Heupel, they're out. Josh Heupel has a transcendent quarterback in Nico Iamaleava. And he needs Nico to be a Heisman contender this year. This isn't any growing. This isn't any rebuilding. This isn't any, oh my gosh, we're a young team and we're going to get there. No, you spent too much money to bring too much other talent back. Okay. Nico needs to be a Heisman contender this year.
So if Nico doesn't lead Tennessee to 10 wins, is not a Heisman contender, they probably lost to Florida or Alabama. So our poll question is the 2024 season is blank if the Vols don't beat Florida or Alabama. Blank, a bleeping disaster. Blank, okay, I can deal with that. Blank, fine, keep calm, all as well. 64% would call it a disaster, 12% okay, 24% are basically really okay, which I guess I would be in that lowest category. I've got to be honest. I would be in that lowest category if at the very worst Tennessee went 9-3 this year, which I think is the floor, right? There's not going to be another 8-4 season with Nico.
No, the floor is 10-2. The floor has to be 10-2.
Okay, your floor, but the worst they can do is 9 wins, right?
I mean, I guess that's the worst they can do. I still think it's 10. I mean, I'm sorry. I still think it's 10. And I think the worst Nico could do is be a Heisman contender, is be in New York.
Okay. Well, 9-3 is a disaster, Travis says. My goodness.
Disaster.
And
this is why Nico is so much more important than George MacIntyre, because there's nothing that George MacIntyre can do that will be worthwhile unless Nico does it first. Because if Nico doesn't do it, Josh Heupel won't be around to coach George MacIntyre.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate. You would have said the same thing about Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning did take 10. Peyton Manning was in New York for the Heisman.
Well, yeah, but he didn't win a national title, but they were in the Final Four-ish before they got beat in the bowl game. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I never said that Nico has to win a national title. I mean, it's a disappointment if he doesn't, and I think most people do think it's a disappointment that Peyton Manning didn't win a national title at Tennessee. But Peyton Manning had Tennessee in the conversation every year, and also, again, Peyton Manning was in New York, and I think everybody in Knoxville agrees that he should have won that Heisman. So, I mean, Dave, let me ask you. You bring up a good point. T. Martin was a highly touted recruit, was he not?
Yes.
Does Tennessee win the national title in '98 without the work Peyton Manning put in those 3 years before?
Probably not. Fair point. Even if Nico doesn't win a championship, he could set a tone and set a standard for Tennessee's offense that Hendon Hooker set a couple of years ago, and it certainly wasn't set last year by Joe Milton.